So sometimes you learn from doing the right thing, but very often we learn from doing the wrong thing. And this video is about me doing very much the wrong thing for my first major natural bodybuilding competition here in the United States. And here's my story. I came to America and bulked up from 198 pounds to 252 pounds, the heaviest I'd ever been in my entire life. And for my first natural bodybuilding competition, I was able to cut down from 252 to 209 pounds in 12 weeks. That's right, 12 weeks, 3 months, 43 pounds in contest shape. We're talking somewhere around 5% body fat, 43 pounds in 12 weeks. Now, that might sound like a terrific accomplishment, and I did actually win my class, but it was not by any stretch of the imagination an accomplishment. It was a train wreck. It was the worst thing I had ever done diet-wise, training-wise, nutrition-wise. And I told myself, I will never, ever do that again. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through my personal example of extreme weight loss and also show why you should never go on this path, because you don't have to. And literally almost everything that I learned and have done with my clients for the past 30 plus years have been based on the idea of always avoiding extremes. So I know it probably piqued your curiosity. So let's talk more about that. So in this video, I'm talking about the time that I went from 252 pounds to 209 pounds in contest shape in literally 12 weeks. That's right, 12 weeks. But before I go any further, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in, especially those who should be a one-stop place for anyone interested in training naturally without drugs or supplements. Thanks so much for the support, and do be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you're first to get new content as it comes out. So on to our topic at hand. How did Kevin go from 252 to 209 in 12 weeks? And why was that a bad thing if I won my class in a natural bodybuilding competition? Well, let me set the scene. First off, when I came to America, I was 198 pounds and in really lean, decent shape. Because growing up in Trinidad, I didn't have the luxury of bulking up. I always maintained myself pretty close to what I would look like if I was going to compete. But in all the muscle magazines back then, it was all about the importance of bulking up and that you have to bulk up and then cut down. That's how you really get the type of size that you need to compete at a high level. And so when I came to the United States, I wanted to try it. And that's what I did. Between 20 and 24, I bulked up. I ate regular food, had protein shakes, and a ridiculously high 250 to 260 grams of protein per day. And I did grow. I got much bigger, but I also put a lot of body fat on. And I hated every single minute of it. I would get winded just going up a few flights of stairs, and that did not feel healthy at all. And so when I was invited to my first natural bodybuilding competition, I was really excited with the idea of cutting down and not being that heavy because it didn't feel comfortable. And I also wanted to see how much muscle I would retain having bulked up for 4 years. And so I was invited to the show 3 months out, and I went all out. I was consuming about 250 to 260 grams of protein per day. But to start really cutting down, I dropped my fat levels as low as humanly possible, taking out the pound of red meat I'd have every single night. And my protein sources were only boiled eggs, boiled skinless chicken breasts, which even back then were just absolutely horrible, and salt-free tuna fish. And that drop in fat dramatically reduced my overall caloric intake. And in the beginning, I kept my carbohydrate levels the same. After the first 4 weeks, I dropped my carb intake slightly. And after the 8th week, I dropped it again slightly. And leading into those final 4 weeks before the competition, I dropped my carb intake to nearly zero. But I felt absolutely horrible, especially in those final weeks when my carbs were at zero. And my carbs stayed at zero for a full 2 weeks. That's right, 2 weeks with zero carbs, training at high intensity 3 times a week with a regular job, a part-time job, and as a parent. And it felt absolutely miserable. I had no energy for anything, and everything I did was almost completely sheer willpower. In fact, I remember it being so bad that I was at the playground one day with my son, and I pushed him on the swing, and I was so spaced out that I saw the swing coming back to me, but didn't move out of the way. He slammed right into me. I was completely out of it all the time, just barely getting through. And the week before the show, I slowly started to put my carbs back in, but as my carbs went in, my water intake started to go down, which for someone used to drinking 1.5 gallons to 2 gallons of water a day was absolute hell. But thankfully, the competition came and I was at 209 pounds. I had dropped down and was exactly where I needed to be. And people kept on telling me how fantastic I looked. And it was such a contrast because I felt absolutely terrible. And I could not wait to get on stage and get this thing over. So I did, went on stage, won my class, and I remember getting the trophy, passing it out to my training partner, Franz, and saying, all right, let's go eat. I couldn't care less about the fact that I had won or placed or anything. Didn't mean a thing to me. All I wanted to do was eat. And what's most important is what happened next. Now, bear in mind, you're talking about someone who was able to eat boiled, skinless chicken breasts and tuna fish, zero carbs, never cheated on his diet at all, no matter how restrictive it was. And at no point in time in my entire life had I ever cheated on a diet when I put my mind to it. And yet I was overcome by the need to eat. The night after the show, I went all out. It was a complete mess. I was eating things that I ordinarily would never eat. I went out with my friends and I ate a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken. Then I got home and had a large order of chicken fried rice, and I had 2 family-sized Sara Lee pound cakes. And I didn't stop there. I kept on eating things like donuts in quantities that were beyond imagination. And one day I'll give you guys my full donut story. And exactly 1 week after the competition, I was 17 pounds heavier. That's right. I put on 17 pounds in 7 days, and I was completely bloated. My fingers looked like sausages. My face was all round. It was almost like I was a passenger inside my own body eating food in a way that I didn't want to eat. I felt miserable, and I said to myself, I will never, ever do this again. And most importantly, I will never take anyone down the path of extreme dieting. And looking back from an analytical perspective, it didn't really make that much sense. I went from 198 pounds to 209 pounds in 4 years, having bulked up and eaten all that much protein and had all those protein shakes and everything else. Whereas I had gone from 125 pounds to 198.5 pounds, consuming far less food, and most importantly, feeling really good along the way. So my next competition, I wasn't going to do any type of extreme dieting at all. I was going to spend an entire year of eating well and years and years and years to come of eating well. And instead of doing something to really prep for a competition, just make some small tweaks and step on stage. And for my very last year of competition in 2004, I was able to step on stage and win my class and hold my own at top tier competitions without doing anything. No carb depletion, no dropping calories, just some small tweaks 3 to 4 weeks before the competition. And bear in mind, I train 3 times a week with naturally intense, high intensity training with workouts that last only 10, 15, max 20 minutes. And most importantly, I never do cardio. And it was really important for me to do this because my philosophy is that my warrior walk should always be the same as my everyday walk. Because for me, my goal was never about winning bodybuilding competitions. My goal was having the look. And I think that's something that most of us can relate to. We don't want to bulk up and feel horrible and cut down and be ripped and shredded, but feel terrible and then lose it right afterwards because you just can't stop yourself from eating. We don't want to go through that. It's not good for your health, both mentally and physically. It's all about sustainability. When I filmed my DVD, it was really important to me to show the world not just what natural bodybuilding looked like, but what you could look like if you just had a diet of completely unprocessed foods with no extreme dieting whatsoever. That's right. The clips of my DVD are me without any extreme dieting whatsoever. This is just Kevin being Kevin. And most importantly, here in my 50th year, looking the way I do right now is a testament to the fact that extreme dieting isn't necessary. But it was completely worth it. It was worth it because I was able to conduct an experiment and see that high protein didn't necessarily mean better gains. Calorie intakes with occasional treat meals didn't necessarily mean that I had better results than eating consistently clean all year round. And having that information gave me a perspective of being able to really compare what happens when you eat clean all the time. I mean, really clean all the time with no variations whatsoever, compared to traditional ideas of bulking up and cutting down. And I'm not saying the traditional ways of doing natural bodybuilding are wrong or this is the only way to do it. What I am doing is showing that it can be done. You don't have to bulk up and you don't have to do any kind of extreme dieting to get into really great shape. But it's a path. It's a path that requires self-mastery. Being able to not have junk food isn't an easy thing in an environment where food is all around us all the time. But as with any path of self-improvement that is founded on the idea of striving for excellence, you'll learn more about yourself. And the beautiful thing is that you get to feel good all the time and really reap the benefits of being a natural athlete. Those men and women who use steroids have a lot of suffering to deal with. There's no reason why as a natural athlete, you need to suffer as well. And I hope my example can show that it is possible to walk a line of clean eating all year round and be able to get into fantastic shape and maintain it, not for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, but for decades. And I hope my example of what not to do and also what I have been able to do helps you along your path. To whom much is given, much is expected, and having accomplished all that I have accomplished, it's really important for me to try and give back as much as I can, especially in a world where it just seems to be all about one way of doing things. And I hope that when you achieve your fitness goals, that you do exactly the same. Thanks again for tuning in, and as always, Excelsior.